Joe with Pink and Maine. I'm super excited to be here with you today to make some fun cards with our September 2020 Crafty Courtyard Kit. The theme is Home Sweet Home and the color palette is absolutely gorgeous. So let's jump in and make some fun cards. I know I say it every time, but I like to use the postcard to make a card, so we're going to use that in the first one. We're going to make a fun folding card. I tried to think out of the box this time so we could make some interesting and fun cards. The first one with the postcard, I've done some of the prep work ahead of time so you can just see the fun stuff, not have to see me do all the boring cutting and gluing. I've simply trimmed down the postcard some and backed it on the beautiful barbershop sparkle sheet that you get in your kit. You get a full sheet of our sparkle sheet this month in the color barbershop, which is a beautiful blue. But if you'll notice when you hold it in the light, you can see hints and just sparkles of other little colors mixed in there, and it's just beautiful. So we're gonna make a card that opens like so that you have nice big roomy area inside that you could decorate more. You can write a long note, whatever you like, but it's just a fun, kind of a trifold. I don't know the, exact name for some of these folded cards, but they're just fun, right? So this is what we're going to be making. What we have here is an A2 size card, 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And I have it opening backwards. Like maybe if you were left-handed, this was the way you would open it instead of right-handed. It's backwards to me. I have another A2 size card, 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, but I've cut half the front piece off. I just took it to my trimmer and measured out half of 4 1/4, which is like 2 1/8. And you're just gonna cut that off so you have something that looks like that, kind of a half card front. Now I've gone ahead on one card that's full. I put this beautiful green pattern paper from our paper pad. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna glue these cards together. We're gonna glue the back of them together so that they'll make one solid panel at the back. And this is gonna fold in, and then this is gonna fold in over it like that. So let's glue this down. I'm just holding it down on the table so I can get it nice and squared off and even in here. It's just a little easy to hold it flat against the table. You want to use a good strong adhesive to glue these together so they stay well and nicely put. And if you look at the seams on the inside where they're scored, you can't even tell that we have two cards glued together there. Fold it over like so. So now we have our card base. And all we have to do is add our front panel. We don't want to glue this to the green side. We want it to be able to open up. So we're just going to glue down this half of the panel. Okay, so there you have it. Now we have our fun folding card. I like how this piece here goes over the green piece. There. Now I want to finish it off with some embellishment. Now one thing that you got in your kit, and this is one of my favorite crafty items. I have had this in my craft room for many, many years. Not this particular bottle, but I have had glossy accents for a very long time. I love it. It provides, when you apply it, it's a perfect glue, like to glue down sequins or other little embellishments. It makes a wonderful glue, but it also creates a clear dimensional look that's super glossy. So imagine you have a character that has glasses. Fill in those glasses with the glossy accents and they look like real glasses once it's dry. So what we're gonna do with this card is we're gonna make this vase dimensional and glossy. We're just gonna put it on, and you can put it on as thick or as thin as you want it. The thicker that you make it, you know, the more dimension it's going to have. It comes out nice and easy. It does come in bigger bottles. You can find it, you can usually find it at your local craft store. I have some of these smaller bottles online at pinkandmain.com. So there, I've covered this vase completely. I'm just going to use the tip to kind of pop any air bubbles that might be on there before it dries. Now this does take a while to dry. I will set this aside for probably a couple of hours and let it completely dry. Once it's dry, you can add another layer to it and even add more dimension. Since it's perfectly clear, you can add another clear layer and just make it more dimensional. You can leave it as is. It's just a really fun and really nice accent, a medium to have for your card making. And one thing I do, I have some tips to help keep it unclogged, because just like any liquid glue, it can clog here, and you're just going to take like a stainless steel pen or, you know, really thin pen and unclog it. But before you close your glossy accents up, when you're done with it, you want to wipe any excess off of the tip. And I usually use like one of my Scrub It Clean cloths. I kind of tap it down on the table. That gets any air bubbles out. And it also drops down the liquid to the bottom of the bottle. Because what you're going to do, as you're closing it, you want to squeeze the bottle. So you actually squeeze the bottle until, I mean, you don't want to squeeze any stuff out of the bottle. You just want to squeeze the air out of the bottle. Okay, and then you want to put the lid on, and as you put the lid on, you can let go. What that will do is it will pull air back into the bottle. It will clear the tip with air drawing back into the bottle, so you won't have the glossy accents up in the tip. And you can use that with your liquid glues as well. So now we have that beautiful glossy accents on the vase, and I want to add some of our enamel dots. Our enamel shapes this month have glitter in them. They are really pretty, and the colors match perfectly with the kit. And here is our first finished card using that postcard that comes in your kit. And we have this fun fold card. For our next card, we're actually going to use two card bases. So I have two A2 size, which are 4 1/4 by 5.5 inches. I have one in teal, and this is a top folding card. So it's cut long ways on your 8.5 by 11 paper and fold in half. So we have one, and then we have the second card base in white is actually a 1/4 inch smaller. If you can see, if I lay this on top of my first card base, I have a little border going around it. So instead of 4 1/4 by 5.5, this card, when it's folded, is 4 inches by 5 1/4. Okay, we want that little border going around. So what we're going to do is we're making an easel card. Got a top folding card. You can see it's open down here at this end. Here's another card, just a card base. Don't make it any more difficult than that. We're gonna do it upside down, where the open end of the top one is at the folded side of the bottom one. You're gonna take the top piece of this card and fold it halfway down to the end here, okay? And that's how we're going to glue this card onto the card. It's gonna be the card front, just like that. And we want the border to go all the way around the card. So let's glue that down. Okay, so now you can see my teal card opens up like so. My white card opens up this way. So we're going to fold the top part of the white card down in half, and I have already glued down a piece that fits inside there, and then I've glued down a piece that fits inside here, and I just cut it a 1/4 inch smaller than the white card is. Okay, so the reason they call this an easel card is when you stand it, it will stand on the table by itself, and it has a dimensional look. It's kind of like an easel for itself. It stands up. So now we're just going to decorate the card a little bit more. So I have some ribbon that I want to put across this front piece here and tie a little knot. So I'm just going to add some adhesive just to the ends of the back of the ribbon to wrap around. So I just put the ribbon where I want it and wrap the ends to the back and adhere them to the back side. So now I have a nice little ribbon border right there. The next thing I want to do is I've cut out of the light blue paper, I've cut a stitch circle with our stitch circle dies, and then with that pretty sparkle sheet, I've cut a scallop circle that coordinates with the stitch circle. And then I've just cut a little edge off here. I've done it before in other videos and said it before. I just like when things go off the edge of the card, part of the shape. It just gives it a nice look. So I'm gonna glue this only to this bottom piece. See, I want the whole thing to come away from the back of the card. I don't want to glue it all the way down. I just want to glue it to this bottom piece here so that it will stand away from the back of the card. So now you can see I have this really cool easel card that stands up. And so I stamped from the stamp set a couple of these butterflies and I cut them out with the coordinating dies. Do you like those coordinating dies that come with the kit? I try to do that when I can. So now this time we have some nice coordinating dies, and I'm just going to glue these butterflies on the circle frame here like so. So now we have some butterflies on our little frame. Remember, it's all dimensional. And now I'm going to tie a knot right over here to this little piece of ribbon that's exposed. I'm going to slide my ribbon for my knot underneath, and I'm going to actually add just a touch of adhesive to the top of the ribbon where I want the knot to stay. And I just tie one simple little knot and then press it down in the center so it will stay on the adhesive. So I just trimmed the ends of the ribbon. So we have our little knot there as part of the embellishment. And now we're going to add the sentiment. I've already stamped Always in My Heart in a blue ink, and I've just framed it. I've just matted it on the dark blue cardstock that comes with the kit. And I'm going to put the sentiment behind here. Okay, and the last thing I want to do to this card is I think I want to add some sequin accents. The sequins for this kit are just gorgeous. Oh my gosh. So I think I want to put a couple of these sequins on some of the butterflies to add accents to them. I've got my little handy dandy pointy tweezers this time to help me out. And I'm going to use the glossy accents as the glue for the sequins. Okay, so let's just add some sequins. And there we have it. I just added some sequin accents to those butterflies. I glued it down with the glossy accents. Just really pretty For our next card, we're going to make another one of those fun fold cards. And this one folded together kind of reminds me of an envelope. So it just opens up like this. The little triangular pieces open up. I've already glued down to the center on the inside of the card. I've used this really pretty, the paper pad is gorgeous this month. It's got some really pretty florals and plaids and dots, ginghams and stripes, but it also has a few of these watercolor looking backgrounds. So really simply, you glue this down and you look like you've watercolored the background. It's really pretty. And so I've added a panel of that on the inside with the sentiment from our home sweet home to yours. Now, this card is made with 2 A2 size card bases. So basically what I've done is I've taken an A2 size card base, and from the corner here to the corner where it folds in my paper trimmer, I just slice that off. Okay, so then what you're left with when you fold the card is just kind of half that panel that folds down on the card, but it's diagonally cut. So you just put it in your paper trimmer and you just cut from corner to corner here, just like so. And you do that on both of your card bases, okay? So then we're gonna glue the 2 rectangular pieces. We're gonna glue those together so that your triangular pieces that are left fold over each other like so. And it just makes a fun fold card that just kind of wow the recipient. They go, "Oh, I can't believe you made that yourself." And before I stick this together again, I find it easier to kind of line it up on the table and kind of fold it there and see just how it's going to go together and kind of square it off. There is our card base. And I've gone ahead, now the way to cut the triangular pattern paper here. So I've cut a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 card. So our panel that we're going to put for these pieces is 4 by 5 1/4. Slightly smaller than the A2 size card. So you're going to get a little border around it. So all I did with the paper trimmer is I took that 4 by 5 1/4 piece and I cut it diagonally corner to corner. I just did one piece and I used one side of the paper for this side and one side of the paper for this side. So on the back of this flower piece are these dots here. So it's just one piece I cut to get the 2 diagonal pieces. And you can have whichever one fold to the top that you prefer. Here I've taken another small piece of that green watercolor pattern paper and I've backed it with a piece of the darker blue cardstock. And that's gonna be a base for our little houses that I stamped and cut out. So what I wanna do is I wanna glue the houses to this little piece here that I've created. And I'm just gonna glue the very bottom of them so they don't have glue all over the back of them. So there I have 2 pieces adhered to that little rectangle there. And this one I'm gonna pop up with some dimensions. So I put a piece of foam tape on the back of this one. And I just overlapped it a little bit. It's in the center and it's popped up. So it just gives a dimension, kind of looks like a little neighborhood. I moved it down a little bit farther here so it gives it more, it looks like it's in the front. I'm gonna glue this right to the center of the card, but it's gonna open with this piece. So we don't wanna glue the entire thing down. So what you can do is you can hold it where you want it on there, go to the back and do pencil lines to help you know where to put your glue. There, so now we have our fun fold card. The last thing I'm going to do for this card is I'm going to add some of our glossy dots. Oh, very nice. I said that was the last thing, but I cannot leave this house has windows. I cannot leave those windows without adding some glossy accents. So I'm going to go ahead and fill the windows in with the glossy accents. So there now, oh, I hope it shows on camera the way it looks here. But when this dries, those windows are going to be nice and shiny and look just like real windows. So here I have just one of our packages from our stamps or our stencils. And you may be wondering, why do you have that out, Michelle? Don't you just throw that away? I don't throw these away. I use them as my little craft mat. So if you're traveling, you don't want to take your craft mat, just take a packaging from one of your stamps or stencils. It makes a perfect backing for doing some ink blending because it protects your table. It's easy to wipe and clean the ink off of it because of the slick surface. And I just find it's just a really inexpensive craft mat when I want something small. I'm just working on a little project. I'm going to move some of these pieces out of my way. We're going to do some stenciling with our mini ergonomic blender brush, and we're going to use the stencil that comes in the kit, and I'm going to make like a gradient background with this pattern and our brush, and I'm going to use 3 colors. We're going to use a nice yellow, a green, and a teal, and I'm just going to kind of blend those together. So I'm going to just speed up the blending, but basically with our ergonomic blender brush, they blend ink really easily. This brush can be held in different ways depending on what's comfortable for your hand. And then it just makes ink blending so easy. Blending the ink in circular motion. And like I said, we'll probably speed this process up for the video, but you'll see as I do it and then the finished background. Okay, so now I'm going from my yellow ink to my green. I'm not gonna clean my brush. I'm not worried about taking the yellow that might be on this brush into the green because the yellow is much lighter than the green. It's not gonna harm the ink pad and it's not gonna hurt the brush or your project. We're wanting to blend these colors together, but the ink really does like to leave this brush. So as I'm stenciling with the yellow, you can see it gets lighter and lighter because the ink is leaving the brush and going onto the paper that's soaking up the ink. So I'm gonna just go from the yellow ink to the green without cleaning the brush in between. If it makes you more comfortable, you take our Scrub It Clean cloth and you just scrub off a little bit to get that yellow ink off. Now I'm going to start blending with my teal ink. And once again, I use such a light green. I'm not going to worry about cleaning the brush in between. If it makes you more comfortable, like I said, you can just scrub the brush a little bit on a dry microfiber cloth, like our Scrub It Clean cloth, and it'll take the ink, the excess ink off, and you can go to the next color. But I'm going light to dark here, so I'm not too worried about doing that in between. Now I am done with our ink blending. So I'm going to take our brush scrubber, which is perfect for all of your blender brushes. I'm going to move my project out of the way a little bit so I don't spray my project. I'm going to use some of our Squeaky Clean brush cleaner. And you just take your brush and you kind of scrub it with some of that cleaner sprayed on there against the little nodules that are in the scrubber. And magically, as you can see, there's no more teal or green or yellow ink on my brush. It just cleans the ink off beautifully. Now there's going to be some inks that may stain your brush over time, but if you clean with this cleaner and our scrubber, you're going to keep your brush nice and clean over a longer period of time. So then I've got our microfiber cloth, our Scrub It Clean cloth, and I'm just going to take and scrub the brush on that. And that's going to help to start the drying process. We want a dry brush when we use it next time. So I'm going to go ahead and get as much of that cleaner and ink off the brush with our Scrub It Clean cloth. And that is simply how you can keep your blender brushes nice and clean and ready to use next time. It's going to extend the life of them and keep them from staining so badly. Just remember to let them completely dry before you use them the next time. Alrighty, are you ready for the reveal? Okay, so my stencil is dirty with ink. I'm going to take that same brush cleaner, the spray. I'm going to spray down my stencil, and I'll probably do it right on top of my packaging here and just scrub that off with our microfiber cloth, and I'll take the ink right off the stencil as well. So here is our card, and you see how easy that was to get that ink blending on there. So we've got our teal going into green and into yellow. And doesn't that pattern just look really pretty? Okay, to finish this card, I've cut with our layered circle dies, I've cut one out of the blue sparkle sheet, so just to add a little sparkle and shine. The top layer is out that teal that comes with the kit, and then I've cut an edge off the circle. Circles really don't have edges, do they? Huh? But I've cut a piece off of the circle there, so it kind of just goes off the edge of the card like I like to do. And I've got foam adhesive on the back, so it just kind of pops off the card. So we'll go ahead and attach that to our card. So now I've stamped and cut out the vase with a flower bunch with leaves. So this die will cut out the rosettes and the leaves when you layer them together. So you stamp the leaves and then you line up the little rosettes to go at the end of the little stems that are there. And then you can die cut them out. You can also do the die and then stamp on top of it if that helps you to line it up. But either way it works, and I like that the die cuts out both of those together so you can put it with the really pretty vase. So we're going to glue that down there. I want to glue the flowers down first so I can put the vase over the top to cover up the little stems that are there, so they'll look like they're inside the vase. There we have our pretty flower and vase. I've stamped Always in My Heart and backed it with the teal cardstock that's in the kit. I think I'll add it up here at the top. And I've added some foam adhesive to the back as that as well, just to kind of pop it off the card a little bit for dimension. So there we have a really pretty stenciled background card. And I'm just going to add some of those pretty sequins to give some shine. Yeah, I think that adds just the perfect amount of sparkle and shine. So there is another card. For our next card, we're going to make a slimline card. So I've cut the card base and folded it. It's 8.5 by 3.5, And then from our beautiful slimline die set, it has the words Hello Beautiful and some other pieces, but it's got these two layering pieces that I really like. It's kind of like a modern look to these layering pieces because they have two rounded corners and two regular corners. So I just like the look that it gives, something different. So I've gone ahead and cut the bottom one out of teal, the top one out of the yellow cardstock that's in the kit, and we're going to make a card with this. So I've cut out some different size stitch circles with our stitch circle die, some different patterns from the pattern paper pad, and I've stamped From Our Home Sweet Home to Yours. And what I've done is I've glued this sentiment strip that I made, I glued it to some of the green glitter tape that you get in the kit. So I just wanted a border of glittery green on this sentiment strip. So as you can see, all I've done is I've taken that glitter tape and I've just have it glued behind the strip there. So we'll use that as our sentiment. I've cut out this really pretty deer. It's got these pretty designs on it. That in yellow. So let's start to assemble these circles. Sometimes it's just fun to play with shapes. And I kind of played with it before, so I have an idea of where I want things to go. So I'm not a magician just pulling this out of a hat. I did play a little bit beforehand. And I've got an odd number of circles because odd numbers are pleasing to the eye more than even. So I've got 5 circles here. And I'm going to place them something like this. And then we're going to glue our deer down on top of there. So I'm going to start with the bottom one and glue it down. I'm going to glue the deer down with some glossy accents just because I'm gluing him down on that glitter paper, so I want them to stick really well. I want to use a liquid adhesive. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to glue this down, but to make it easy, I'm just going to use the adhesive from the glitter tape to stick the sentiment down. So you just peel, it is actually a glitter tape, so it has a clear film on the sticky part. You just peel that clear film off, and then you have some tape to stick that down. Have you ever used the little collectible flare button in a project that we include in the kit? Or do you just collect them? This time I thought this would be a fun way to show you how you can actually use it in your project. So I've removed the little pin part of the button, that little wire pin part that's back there. Be careful when you remove it. You know, it has a little pointy tip to it, so you want to be careful so you don't poke yourself. But you can pop that out of there. We actually make these pins in-house, so we put all those little pins, wire pins, inside of these ourselves by hand. But you can put a piece of foam adhesive in the back of that pin, and then you can stick it to your project, just like that. So it does add some dimension if you're gonna mail it, but it's not much more dimension sometimes than popping something up with foam adhesive. You'll just want to probably mail it in like a little bubble envelope or something. So here's our card that's almost finished. The last thing I want to do is cut these edges of the circles. There I go with edges again. Just cut these part of the circles that are going over the edge of our card. And here's our finished card. And I love it. It's just something different. It has those circles of patterned paper that just are so interesting to the eye with the different patterns and the circles. It's got that little bit of glitter and glitz from the sparkle sheet. I may add some, yes, I've got to add some enamel dots because why not? And there is our finished card. I love the little enamel dots on there. I mean, it is a circular pattern card, so why not add some of those dots to continue some of the patterns? So now with our last card, we're gonna make a shaker card. You know, I love my shaker cards. So I've got a green card base, A2 size, 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. I've already put my Always in My Heart sentiment on the inside of the card. I've put a layering piece with the yellow cardstock that's just slightly smaller than my card base. And then I've cut a piece of the pattern paper with these pretty rosettes to go over that. I want to, before I glue that down, I want to put a piece of the teal ribbon across here towards the bottom. So I'm going to put some adhesive on the back of the ends of the ribbon. So there we have our ribbon, and we can now glue this down to the card base. So here's our card base, start of the card. Now we need a frame to put our shaker pieces in. So I've taken our reverse scallop circle dies. So they cut out this circle with this little scallop feature on the inside, which creates a really pretty and unique frame. I've taken some of our packaging from either our stamp or our stencil. If you don't have acetate sheets around, you can always use packaging from your products. It's a good way to reuse it, not just throw it away. And all I've done is glued that to the back of the frame, and then I've added our foam adhesive around the edge. When you add your foam adhesive around the edge, the only thing you want to remember is you want to close it in. You don't want to have any gaps or openings in that foam adhesive frame because you don't want your sequins to fall out. So I've got my frame ready to go, and it's as simple as that. You just need a window frame that's popped up with some foam adhesive to go over your little shaker parts to create the shaker card. So I've got this ready to go. I'm just going to add our sequins. One thing I sometimes do so that all the sequins don't fall to the bottom of the shaker frame is I'll add some dots of adhesive here and there within where the frame is going to be, so that some of the sequins will stay put. They'll stay in place. They won't shake around, but they'll be within there. And it gives a nice look to have some sprinkled throughout. I'm going to go wild, and I'm going to add the rest of the sequins to this card. Oh my. But my goodness, look at the sparkle. I cannot get over how gorgeous these sequins are. So now I'm just going to remove the backing to my foam adhesive. So we're going to add our frame down, and you can see I've just kept the layer of sequins within where the frame is going to go so that the foam will stick to the card, not to any of the sequins. We don't want any gaps that they'll fall out of, so I'm just going to press that down really well so that we have everything sealed within our shaker frame. And then you can just shake it up. Oh my goodness, this is gorgeous. Oh, that's really pretty. So now I want to add a little bit more to the outside of the card. So I've got another one of our flowers and our vases stamped and cut out, and I'm just going to add that here kind of off to the side of our frame so you still see plenty of the sequins. I'm going to add a dot of the glossy accents as an adhesive on my ribbon where I want to tie my knot. And there's our last card, a fun, sparkly shaker card. So I want to thank you for joining me today as we make some cards with our September 2020 Crafty Courtyard Kit themed Home Sweet Home. I hope I've inspired you some to think outside the box, create some fun fold cards, some stenciled background cards, shaker cards, and cards using basic shapes to create fun backgrounds. Until next time, my friends, keep living the creative life.